So a few of you on the chat are saying, yeah, October was massive. And quite a few of the kind of blogs and videos and people that I follow in general, which honestly, when I was following them at the beginning of the year, I was thinking these people are crazy. And now I'm like, maybe not so crazy. And they were really talking about we have walked through something. Like we've walked through this ascension or awakening or new timeline or whatever language you want to put it in. There has been a definitive shift. And I know for many of you who we gather quite frequently, and I know that you guys are kind of feeling that within yourselves. But as I was saying before I hit the record button, I've really started noticing it amongst the people, just people that aren't Reiki people, aren't doing any kind of spiritual practice or even interested in spiritual practice. I've been getting really odd questions from people and just odd discussions around their own inner awakening. And when I use the term awakening, I don't want to make it into some kind of fanciful spiritual term, but it's literally a waking up from this idea that it's just me and my little self. And actually there is a much bigger game afoot. And I think that for many of us who kind of joined this call, we already have been playing around with that ideology for a long time. And within Reiki, we play around with that a lot. But it's interesting timing. So that's kind of why I chose this theme of holding the light, because I wanted to really explore and invite you guys to explore this idea of holding light within ourselves. And I will talk a little bit more about that. So essentially, for those of you who are new to the Reiju meeting, we do a little bit, I kind of present a theme, and then we do a Reiki share. And the Reiki sharing is essentially there's quite a lot of teachers that join the group. So all the teachers, we kind of share a Reiki attunement. So for those of you receiving, you're simply relaxing, and then the attunement or the Reiki is kind of permeating the whole group. And then for those who are able to send Reiki, we just send Reiki to everybody in this group. So underlying this meeting is a Reiki healing. And that's kind of a really powerful aspect of it. And then on top of that, honestly, just to amuse the mind, okay? To amuse the mind, give it something to do. So it's not sitting there in silence going, I'm bored. We kind of layer a theme. And that theme is just to give the mind something to chew on while we do this. And I also guide the meditation as well as something else for the mind to chew on. But essentially, you can mute me when we go into meditation. It's 100% up to you, because the Reiki healing is really where the juice is. Okay, so, but having said that, sometimes it's very useful for the mind to have something to chew on, particularly when we're going through this kind of global transition that we're going through at the moment. So I'm noticing on the chat that some people are feeling quite emotional, and I was chatting with someone yesterday who was like, God, I just feel so overwhelmed. And then when you put it in context, essentially we are going through at the moment, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this, we're going through the biggest shift humanity's actually ever been through. And it is that movement from thinking that this structure is a personality, and I have to make my way, I'm separate, and I have to make my way through the world, and I have to I have to win, and I have to do all this kind of stuff. And life is tough, and I have to get what I get, and I have to accumulate, and I have to, all that stuff that we were brought up with. And certainly the generations before us were very deeply ingrained with this idea of me, I have to take care of myself. and everybody else is competition, essentially. Now, the one thing that is breaking down now is this idea, and it's a huge and deeply ingrained idea. And what's replacing it is not another idea. This is what to me is so exciting. It's not an idea. It is a knowing that actually I'm not a little me. I'm universal. Like I'm you, you're me. I mean, it's all the same thing. And it's essentially the only difference is I'm looking through this pair of eyes rather than your pair of eyes. But it's the same consciousness that's looking out. And as more and more people start to become aware of this, it's going to completely transform the way we operate as humanity. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen on December 21st at all, but we're cracking. This is the first crack. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Moana. Oh, I love Moana. Oh, love it. It's when the goddess, wakes up and realizes she's not the raging beast. She's actually this beautiful island, and she's actually the feminine essence. I'm going off a bit track there. It just popped into my mind. I don't know why. But essentially, it's the more of us that start to realize this, the more permission is in the system for others. So this is where the holding of the light becomes super, super important in terms of, as I realize I'm you and you realize you're me, we start to vibrate very differently. We start to communicate very differently. And we drop competition. There is no such thing as competition in this awareness. And again, as I said, it's not a belief system. It's a deep knowing of the truth, because you hit it as soon as you come into a meditative space like this. When your mind stops the thinking, the monkey, bah, 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 when that subsides, then the truth of it just becomes known to you. I mean, it's just obvious. And it's not something that if someone says, well, that's not true, that you get all defensive about. It's a deep knowing that if someone says, well, that's not true, then you know very clearly, well, that's not true for them. But it's not like I have to defend myself from that, because it's like someone, if you know me, I'm quite tall. If someone was to come up and say, you're really short, it would be like that. I'd be like, okay, well, that's fine. You're obviously Dutch. Because they're massive. So the idea of holding light is this idea of holding light, not only, and I'm not talking about it like I'm holding light and everyone else is going to receive the light. No, I'm talking about holding that essence of my consciousness or my knowledge that what is shining out of me, what is animating this body, is the same light, is the same source. And you don't have to call it light. You could call it sensation. You could call it awareness, presence, that is shining out of all of our eyes, and is actually shining out of the plant. It's shining out of the building. It's just kind of animating everything. And all I need to do is hold on to that. Now, there is going to be the monkey mind that still happens. There's going to be the anxiety that keeps happening. There's going to be, I'm still having my drama moments. I am a self-confessed drama queen and I enjoy it. So that stuff keeps coming up, but within the context of the light. So the involvement is very different. And your ability to hold it so that other people can come in with their drama, for sure, and their stuff. But there's a different sense of, well, do I need to take that or not? And there's not the same compulsion to fix it or to help in that quite draining sense of it. Is this kind of making sense? So there's a few different kind of concepts for you to hang on to. First of all, there is this idea that everything is now available, much more so than it was a year ago. And so And I'm sure you're noticing this, like your ability to kind of detach or get involved, let go of old stuff or not, is easier now than it was a year ago. Yeah. And if you're not nodding, it's fine, and maybe it's something that will unfold, or who knows, it's kind of like I'm not saying that this timeline is set in stone for us all. And I'm not saying that all of us are going to kind of have that same feeling around it this year. It might be next year, the next year, the next year. This is a process that we're now moving into. And maybe you might not be noticing it for yourself, but you're noticing it in people around you, for example. So that's the first thing. So the first thing is this accessibility to the different levels, vibrations, frequencies. So we can go up and down the scale much more easily. We're not so stuck in our mindset. We can kind of travel. We're more flexible. We're more open. We're more kind of like, oh yeah, maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that. That's the first thing. The second thing is our ability to then step back from that. So to see, okay, there's all this monkey mind and there's all this that stuff going on here that is more open, right? But not only is it more open, I can actually disengage from it more easily. I can come into my heart center, or I can come into my Reiki meditation, or I can come into whatever and see that I'm not that. I'm not my thoughts. And even though when I say that, conceptually, most of us know, yeah, I know I'm not my thoughts, right? But to have the experience of not being your thoughts and actually really stepping back and being able to see it, that veil has also become much finer. Like it's much easier for us to see that. So it's almost like the bigger me is more awake. And so for those of us where that is true, that you're like, yeah, actually, I really see that. Our job now is to make sure that light, that's the light I'm talking about, that light of awareness is shining as brightly as we can shine it out. Because when we do that, we impact all of those around us. And whether that's physically, or whether that's on Zoom, or whether that's in how we write and respond to people online, or whatever it is, it increases the permission for others to see it, to step into it, and to make the choice. So it just gets really important, but important in a sense that there's a momentum happening, and that momentum is going to continue happening. And so it's really a choice. Like, do you want to step into that momentum and be part of that momentum? Or do you want to be the person hanging on going, no, I'm gonna hang on to my belief systems no matter what? In which case, that's also fine. But if you look around, you can see that most of the suffering happening at the moment is that. So then it's a choice of, do you want to suffer or not, essentially? And if you want to suffer, then yes, hang on as tight as you can. Lots of suffering coming your way. But if, like most of us on this call, it's like there is a yearning or a feeling or a movement towards more freedom, more peace, then stepping into this light body is just where we're going, and it's where we're going next. And that's really what these gatherings are about as well. Though I realize they're supposed to be more like Reiki introductions, but it's just the way it's moving. So you join the call. You're in it with us. Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move into the actual meditation part, and then there's going to be time at the end. I'll kind of let you guys give some feedback and stuff like that. But before we do that, is there any feedback or any questions around what I've just spoken about? Okay. In that case, I am going to mute you all. And you can unmute yourself after the meditation. I also like to stop my video so that it just feels more comfortable to me when I'm kind of tuning in and connecting in. And so for all of us, what I'm going to invite you to do is just settle into a meditative and supportive position. So ideally, you do want to be sitting up, but with your back resting against something. And we're just going to take a few moments. Dropping your attention from the mind down into the center of the chest, the heart center. Bringing your hands into prayer pose or gasho, which means just bringing your hands together in the front of your heart center. And for those of you giving an attunement today, you're going to extend the attunement to everybody who is calling, who's on the call, but also to anybody who is listening to the recording afterwards. And for those of you receiving an attunement, you're just opening yourself up to receiving. Often we imagine a lotus at the top of our heads, very gently opening. The Reiki coming down through that into the heart center. Or you may just notice a little tingling in your hands, or simply a sense of peace and calm through your system. And in your own time, you can place your hands anywhere on your body. Some people like to place one hand over the heart center and another one deep on the belly. Or you might want to place it on your lap, on your thighs. Or if you're sending Reiki, you could also use a cushion to place your hands for the send. And so now we're just going to tune in, everybody that's sending Reiki, just tune in to everybody else on the call, having the intention to share Reiki with them and to receive Reiki as a group. So let's bring our focus deep into the heart, into the center of the chest, allowing your attention just to drop from the mind, leaving the thoughts alone, not trying to push them away, but just lessening the attention. Let them flow, do what they do. Noticing that as you bring your attention into the heart center, the thoughts themselves just gently move into the background. Watching the breath, the rise and fall in the chest or the belly. And deep within this heart center is where the light resides. Simply notice and feel it expanding out into your chest cavity, down into the belly, up into the shoulders, the arms, the head, down into the feet, the legs, and simply observing the sensations. You may be noticing some tightness or tension in the body. And there's no need to worry about it or change it in any way. But as you focus on the light, you might notice this tension has permission to relax. The breath has permission to do whatever it does. Drop all judgment. Give your thoughts a break. And as you sit in the light, just noticing how neutral it is, with no particular preference, with no particular judgment, no right or wrong. Noticing how your thoughts can still come and go within this light, almost as if you were the sky, the clouds, the birds, the wind, has no effect or impact. Notice how your body can also exist within the light, is part of it, yet doesn't define it. And if you are still feeling separate from this light, see if you can also drop that concept. Become the light itself. And it may not feel like an actual light, a visual. It may be more a sense, presence, awareness, or a deep calm, peace. Oneness or wholeness. Bringing your awareness to any sounds that are happening outside of the body. Maybe some traffic, some noises in the house, the wind outside. And notice that this also occurs within the light, the presence, the oneness. Feeling in and extending this feeling. Noticing how the sensations in the body, the thoughts, or the external noises, or even my voice, is all equal. There is no particular distinction. All is welcome, and all arises from the same source. And paying attention if your mind goes off, or you begin to think about something that you then identify as yourself. Notice how the body contracts, or how this expansiveness becomes smaller, more constricted. And simply noticing this distinction is all that is required. When you rest as awareness, you feel expanded, expansively connected. All noises, all thoughts, all sensations. And when you move into a constrictive thought, Notice how you close down just a little. Make yourself smaller. Feel less expanded. Less open. And simply noticing this without judgment, frustration, or any other diminishing thoughts. Just noticing and choosing. Where is your attention? And if your mind has wandered off again, just check in. Notice what parts of your body contract, what areas tense up. And as you come back into your light, notice the deep relaxation, connectedness, feelings of peace and calm. Allowing yourself to drop just that little bit deeper. And as we prepare to come out from this meditation, just realizing that this resource is always within you. It is not something that you have put into yourself. In fact, it is exactly what you are. when you bring your attention inwards, away from the thoughts, the external drama. When you bring your attention inwards, this is exactly what you are. Starting to bring your attention more deeply into the breath. Into the feet. Wiggling the toes. Into the hands. Giving them a gentle squeeze. Stretching your hands above your head, giving them a little shake. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. How's everyone doing? I did put myself on mute a few times because my daughter was leaving the house. I'm sure you heard her. I love teenagers. It's like, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, anyway. Oh, is my sound in and out anyway, even without the mute? Yeah, sorry about that. That's really annoying. But having said that, the purpose of the meditation was to really come into your own deep center, right? Yeah, Meenakshi, catching one word in 10. Exactly. It's just, as I said earlier, it's like blah, 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 blah. Anyway, is it still doing that? Am I still coming in and out? Did you get the feeling of it, is what I've just written in the chat.
Sorry.
It's funny, isn't it? I was actually saying, before how the Reiki is the underlying, and then the chit chat is the, is the chit chat. And then, yeah, and then you get a meditation to absolutely.
That's an interesting picture. Ooh, what's going on?
I'm having a lot of issue with my Wi-Fi for some reason. I've just switched over to data. Maybe I should have done that in the beginning.
It was very nice, in spite of the sound going. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was actually saying, I don't know if you heard me, but I was actually saying how funny it was that I mentioned it right at the beginning, that our gathering is a Reiki healing. And then the the chit chat on top of it was really sometimes just to keep the mind engaged. So when I am chopping in and out like that, it's you can't make this stuff up, you know. Love it. So how any questions or any kind of things that people would like to share?
I just admire how much you can talk about this. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I do tend to go on a bit like a freaking train. For those of you who've known me a while, you know I do that. Sometimes it's good when the Wi-Fi goes off and I just shut up and give you guys a bit of peace.
I was saying, Elaine, that you manifested that to make, you know, you were saying it, you just manifested it. So when I realized that I wasn't getting it one word, I was like, okay, cool. But it was kind of funny because it was like, boom. And so now, and then there was deep silence. Bring back.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh, I have to listen to it afterwards. It's going to make me laugh so much. You know what was quite interesting was as I was doing the meditation, there was also a part of me that was like, you don't have to say a lot for this. Now I know why. Because you weren't hearing a bloody word anyway.
It was kind of like when you've got your Reiki music and the bell will come because you go really, really deep and then you get the bell and that would be like one word. It's like, oh, okay, now and then you go really, really deep again. So yeah, but it was still beautiful and really, really nice. So thank you so much.
Oh, you guys are so welcome. You know, it's quite funny. I think it is part of the theme because I've just done a little video on imagination and guided meditation, because I do get people that kind of like, well, you know, I listen to your guided meditation, but I'm not getting the thing. And it's almost like, well, there isn't actually a thing to get, you know, and that I think was very powerful for you guys to see. I'm chopping in and out. And for some of you, it might have been quite frustrating, and I do apologize for that. But for those of you who could just kind of, okay, that's just that, and actually coming into the essence of what we were sharing together and feeling that, then it's actually a really powerful, exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about holding the light, right? It's kind of like, okay, we are holding this thing and it doesn't require language. It doesn't require words, because actually we're holding something energetic. And so actually this meditation is perfect because it's really showing you that, right? It's showing you exactly what we're talking about. So you really can't make this stuff up. Brilliant. Any other feedback?
Very nice, loving feelings from everybody.
Yeah. You can actually feel the energy, right? Like when you try and do your Reiki practice on your own versus coming into a group, there's a definite difference. And I think somebody was saying it feels really thick, or it's that feeling of intensity, isn't it, as it comes in. So that's just, yeah, that's group energy, and group work is so powerful at amplifying energy. And at the moment, it's super helpful, I think, for all of us. And also sometimes just to get together and realize that, you know, we're all being a bit mental together is helpful, you know, I think. So any final questions before we call off for this month, or observations?
I think the holding the light is a is a very nice sequence after all the releasing, you know, where we can show the light after we did all the releasing and getting rid of all the little layers to shine it more brightly.
Yeah.
And so to me, rather, when you say stepping into the light, I almost felt like, but isn't it, we are the rock and the light, you know, to my feeling, the light is already there and it's just shining it through and out.
Yes.
But it's also the stepping, it's both in a way, right? It's there, it's both within and around. So I guess you could both step in and feel it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because actually, as I was saying step in, I was having the same feeling. It was like, well, actually,
it's not quite that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not quite stepping in, because actually we are it.
Yeah, that. It's like a rock. You're like a rock, but a shiny one, a transparent one.
Yeah. But it's almost like, you know, it's kind of like you have to drop the chit chat before you can see the light. Like when you're in all your drama and in all your angst, then you can't see your own light, right? So that's,
you can't see the rock. You can't see that you are the rock, really.
Yeah. So there is a sense of stepping into it or immersing yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's almost like the visual I get is like I start off here and then I literally go my attention goes down into here and then I'm like, oh, there's the light. Then it's there.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's why I use the term step into it, because it feels to me like I go into it and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is me.
Okay, I thought stepping into it like this. And then I thought, why should I do that? So yeah.
Okay, good point. Yeah, good point. Because and again, it's really interesting to start to feel into it yourself. So the languaging that I'm using, I'm following my own movement of energy, but of course your movement of energy could be really different. And so it's like realizing that no, that language doesn't really work for me, and then substituting it in for what does work for you. And that's really the limitation of guided meditation as well, right? Because it's all coming from my translation, and that can be working or not working for you. So yeah, thanks. That's a really important point to make, actually, that it's just language. And then it's the most important thing is feeling into how it translates for you and then following that, right? Yeah,
I do like the language. I think without it, it does give you other perspectives or other ideas of, yes, actually that's how it feels, or like you said, or that's not how it feels, but how does it feel then? When without any language, any guidance, well, you're just off, I guess, and you're not really getting there. So I think it is important. We said
I think it can be helpful, but it's like that thing of the finger pointing to the moon.
Yeah.
It's like, don't grab onto the finger. It's just pointing at the moon, but it's not the moon. And I think that's a really, in any kind of guidance at all, and that includes like the deepest, most guru-like teacher, it's simply pointing. So I think as soon as we start kind of grabbing the finger, that's when we start to get into a lot of kind of spiritual hot water. And that happens all the time for people. We forget. So actually, I think that this is a really powerful remembering of that. So it's always referring back into yourself. What is the directionality? Like for some people, often I feel like I'm going backwards as well, you know, like my mind. And then I go back into who's thinking, like who is the thinker? And then when you get into that, then it's almost like you fall backwards. So, you know, you could go in or you could go back or you could go under, or, you know, it's like it's whatever is working for you. But it's essentially following the observer wherever that is, not the thinking. And the thinking is like doing that. And then you're kind of going that or whatever, who knows? Oh, brilliant. Yes. Thanks, Adrienne. That's a great question. So I think we might finish on that note.
Sonia here. Just one question, Elaine,
Oh, yes.
if I may. Yeah, is it that after the session, the attunement continues, as I remember, a week after we did the first one in October, like about the second Tuesday after, I felt the morning, like really energized and my heart chakra was opening up. And then by the time 7:30, I was in my bed and I don't usually go to bed so early. So I don't know, does attunement continue like that even after these sessions or?
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Sorry, I do tend to stop giving the kind of feedback like that because so many people are Reiki people, but you're absolutely right. I should actually mention that is that the attunement itself, even though it's temporary, and as you notice, it kind of over days, weeks, it kind of gently diminishes again. It does keep activated. And actually, I think if you keep using it, so if you keep putting your hands on your body, when you do your meditations or when you go to bed at night, it actually elongates the amount of time you stay connected to it. But obviously, if you want it connected constantly, then that's when you sign up for a Reiki 1 class with somebody, a teacher around you or something like this. And that then keeps it in your system for good. So that then when you're joining these sessions, getting attunements or not getting attunements. So most of the people, when they join these Reiju gatherings, it's for a kind of booster. Yeah. But yes, definitely it continues afterwards. And the other thing that I always forget to say is drink lots of water after these sessions as well, because my favorite thing, drink lots of water.
Yes.
Because you really can shift a lot of energy, especially when we're doing group work. So, sometimes people will say, oh, I got a bit of a headache. And I'm like, probably dehydration. And I've probably forgotten to remind you to drink water. Oopsie. I get so carried away with these that I've kind of forgotten to mention just the basic stuff now. But thank you for that question. Yes. Lots of water. Yeah. All right, my darlings. Thank you so much for gathering. Thanks for coming, and have a lovely November, and just keep shining that light out, and let's see where we go. December's going to be super interesting, and then let's all cross fingers and hold light for this week as well. It's going to be a big week. Blessings, everybody. If you want to unmute and say bye, I really enjoy actually hearing you guys say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Thank
my
you,
dears.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Elaine. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.